Chapter 1646. Gao Lily rubbed her hands and complained. What's wrong with her? I've never seen anyone turn off their phone when they go to the library. There's something wrong with her brain, Hu Xiaolin complained. She had forgotten that Gao Lily did not bring her keys. After all, they were close. Hu Xiaolin would not be annoyed if she opened the door once in a while. Among the 4 people in the dormitory, only Gao Lily and Hu Xiaolin were in the same major. Tanghua and Lung Ruofei were in different majors. Gao Lily was tall and pretty. She had a boyfriend when she was in her first year of university. Therefore, she would go on a date with her boyfriend during the class before noon and the last class in the afternoon. She would not come back with Hu Xiaolin. Tanghua read some books in the library and then went to the classroom to attend class. She took her textbook and walked slowly to the classroom. She was not very familiar with her classmates in the university. The only girl she was familiar with was a girl named He Chi. She would often call her before class and remind her to help her answer the professor's roll call. If they were close, she would help her from time to time. This was normal in university. It was nothing. However, she was not close to He Chi. He Chi would only call her intimately and call her when she needed her. Once, she was sick and asked for leave. There were a few important classes that day, and the teacher should have left homework. That night, she planned to ask He Chi what homework the teacher left for her and if she could have a copy. However, He Chi said that she did not go to class, so she did not know what the topic was. However, He Chi handed in the homework later. She asked the class for help, but almost no one helped her. Everyone was not familiar with her. It was fine if the class did not help her and did not see the news. It would not make sense if He Chi did not help her. He Chi often missed classes and was not very friendly to others. However, when there was a problem, there would always be someone to help her. Perhaps it was because He Chi was better at dressing up. The original owner of the body wore simple clothes and almost did not wear makeup, let alone high heels and dresses. With the money she earned from her part-time job, she could actually dress up well. At least she would look more beautiful and fashionable. She already had this plan when she started her first year of university and started working part-time to earn money. During the holidays, she wore a pretty dress, high heels, and light makeup. When she returned home, she was scolded by her mother, Li Meishue. It was nothing more than telling her to study hard and not do such useless things. She was dressed so flirtatiously and even asked if she had a boyfriend in school. He told her that she was not allowed to date for now, and that he would introduce her to someone after she graduated. I'm your mother. I'm saying this for your own good. This was Li Meishue's catchphrase. No matter where she was, she could use it. You're dressed so flirtatiously. I don't know what other people will say if they see you. I heard that many college students are kept by other people. Xiaogua, you can't learn bad things. If you dare to do such a thing, don't even think about entering this house. The original owner was the kind of person who was more obedient and didn't spend any effort on clothes. A girl who didn't know how to dress up would indeed be easily overlooked. In this world, everyone was obsessed with looks. He Chi was actually average-looking, but because she had put on makeup and wore nice clothes, people would pay attention to her. Chapter 1647. That mouth of his could speak, and naturally, he could attract many boys to do anything for him. Not to mention copying homework. There were even people who would carry bricks for pretty girls. The original owner was different. Because of her parents' warning, she did not get close to any boys. Coupled with her plain clothes, it was difficult to attract the attention of the boys. As for the girls, they did not like to hang out with such people. After all, they did not have a common language. They would only think of her if they needed her help. Because of this, she was ignored by countless people. When there was someone who needed her, she could not wait to lend a helping hand and would not refuse at all. Over time, everyone got used to it. Today, Tanghua came to class and did not turn on her phone. He Chi, who had planned to skip class, called Tanghua and asked for Tanghua's help when the professor called the roll. Unexpectedly, sorry, the number you have dialed is unavailable. Like Gao Lily, He Chi did not believe it. She called several times, but it did not go through. In the end, she had to give up. After that, she could only call others to ask for their help. But not everyone was like Tanghua and would help without hesitation. In the eyes of the girls, He Chi was a competitor. She was too popular with the boys, so they were enemies. How could they help her answer the role? Naturally, Chi could only run to the classroom with her books. In the end, she was late. She wanted to ask Tangwa what was going on and why her phone was turned off. However, Tangwa was sitting in the front row. She did not have the courage to sit in the first row. Host, Chi fainted from anger. If you choose the first row, she will not dare to sit in it. But after class, she will definitely find you and question you. After class, the corridor was filled with people. She wore such a short skirt and exposed her calves on such a cold day. Even if she wore a warm coat, she would still be shivering from the cold. Plus, she was wearing 12 centimeters high heels. Do you think she could catch up with me? Tangwa's smile was a little mischievous. She glanced at her white shoes and said, "You have to wear flats to squeeze on the stairs." System. Host, you look very mischievous when you smile. Sure enough, after class, Tangwa immediately stood up and walked to the professor's side. With a smile on her fair face, she said, "Professor Chun, I still have a question that I don't quite understand. Can I have a few minutes of your time to ask about it?" There was no teacher who didn't like students who were eager to learn. Moreover, this student was very polite. Professor Chun naturally wouldn't reject him. Chi wanted to shout, but when she heard Tangwa's voice, her voice got stuck in her throat and she didn't shout again. Professor Chun did not have a good impression of her, so it was better for her not to get close to him. She planned to stop Tangwa at the entrance of the girls' dormitory and ask her why her phone was turned off. Unexpectedly, Tangwa had no intention of returning to the dormitory after asking the question. There were no classes in the afternoon, so she prepared to go to the cafeteria for dinner. It was best to have dinner at 6 o'clock. If it was too late, the food wouldn't be easily digested and would get fat. After leisurely finishing her dinner, she went to the library. Going to class, eating, and going to the library was the life of a university student. If she was lying in the dormitory like a corpse at such a young age, wouldn't she be a useless person? When Tangwa was eating in the cafeteria, Gao Lili and Hu Xiaolan had just finished their classes and returned to the dormitory. They instinctively knocked on the door and shouted, "Tangwa, open the door." Chapter 1648. Of course, Tangwa was not in the dormitory. She didn't come back? Hu Xiaolan frowned. Gao Lili snorted. "I don't think so. Let's try calling her." Of course, her phone was still switched off. Hu Xiaolan was about to take out her keys when her expression changed. "I think I forgot to bring my keys." This time, it was real. She remembered that she had changed her bag when she went to class. She had forgotten to put her keys in that bag. Then what should we do? Gao Lili was a little anxious. "I have to go back to the dormitory to change my clothes. My boyfriend is still waiting for me outside." The weather was still a little cool, and Gao Lili did not want to catch a cold. When she went to class, she wore thicker clothes. But when she went to see her boyfriend, she had to dress up nicely. At least, she could not wear pants. She had to wear a skirt, socks, and high-heeled leather shoes. "Why don't I give Lung Ruofei a call?" Gao Lili hesitated for a moment. It's already 6 o'clock. She should be back in the dormitory, right? Then you can try calling her. Gao Lili pursed her lips and dialed Lung Ruofei's number. A cold voice came from the other end. "What's the matter?" "I am Gao Lili." "Lung Ruofei, when are you coming back?" "What's the matter?" Gao Lili shivered from the cold. "It's like this. I didn't bring my keys. There's no one in the dormitory?" Lung Ruofei was a little surprised. After all, Tangwa should be in the dormitory at this time. Even if she was not in the dormitory, these two should have called Tangwa. Why did they call her cell phone? "There's no one. Tangwa's cell phone is switched off. That's why I called you. Can you come back a little earlier and open the door for us?" Gao Lili's voice was almost pleading. Lung Ruofei did not seem to feel it. Her voice was still cold. "That's not possible. I have something on today, and am not in school. If you don't mind, you can come to my house to get my keys." Gao Lili, then forget it. Gao Lili hung up the phone. "Let's go look for Tangwa." Someone told them that they saw Tangwa in the cafeteria. They hurriedly went to look for her. Tangwa was in the cafeteria. When she heard the system's reminder, she quickly wiped the corner of her mouth and turned around to go to the library. When the two of them arrived at the canteen, they naturally couldn't find Tanghua. Maybe she's in the library? Hu Xiaolan said after looking around. Then let's go to the library. Gao Lily's heart was full of anger. The two of them went to the library again, but she didn't know that Tanghua had already left. This time, she went shopping outside the school. The snacks outside the school were really delicious. She ate to her heart's content. Finally, she went to the coffee shop and slowly tasted a cup of coffee. There's no one in the library either. Hu Xiaolan frowned. Seriously, how could he turn off his phone? Gao Lily was about to cry. Xiaolan, you're too much. You used to bring your keys every day, but you didn't bring them today. Didn't I forget to release it? But Tanghua didn't come back today. Her phone is still turned off. In the end, the two of them decided to look for the dorm manager. It wasn't that they didn't want to look for her first, but the dorm manager was very fierce. Anyone who went to look for her would be scolded all the way up. It's time to go back. Tanghua finished her coffee and walked out of the coffee shop happily. She slowly walked back to the dorm. Just as she reached the school gate, she saw Gao Lily rushing out. When Gao Lily saw her, she was furious. Tanghua, why is your phone turned off? Oh yes, where did you go? Why didn't you come back to the dorm? I went out to buy some daily necessities. Tanghua happened to be holding a plastic bag in her hand. I'm a little short of money this month. After looking around for a long time, I finally bought something cheap and practical. Gao Lily, you're in such a hurry. Where are you going? Are you going to see your boyfriend? No wonder your makeup is so exquisite. I'm sure your boyfriend will like it. Gao Lily was speechless. If the other party praised her, it wouldn't be good if she said anything harsh and attracted the attention of the surrounding people. After all, she still cared about her image. Okay, I'm leaving. I can't talk to you anymore. My boyfriend is still waiting. Tanghua smiled and waved her hand. She carried the plastic bag and walked towards the female dorm. Suddenly, she felt a special gaze on her. She raised her head and saw a very handsome man standing in front of her. The man's gaze fell on the plastic bag in her hand. Chapter 1649. Bailey Chung felt that if he didn't remember wrongly, when he went to one of the supermarkets under his name, he happened to see this girl packing a lot of things into her basket before she paid for them. That was why she told the other girl that she was short on money, so she picked and picked for a long time before she finally bought something cheap and practical. It was really strange. He clearly saw that the girl was holding the shelves of daily necessities. The things on the shelves were all imported, right? Useful. They were definitely useful. His supermarket didn't sell fake goods, especially imported goods. They always checked them strictly. Cheap? Was it cheap? It definitely wasn't cheap. It would be strange if it was cheap. Every item she took out was 2 to 3 times more expensive than ordinary items. Looking at her clothes, she didn't seem like a student with a luxurious lifestyle. Is there a problem? Bailey Chung was still deep in thought. He didn't expect that Tanghua had already walked up to him. Her fair and clean face had a smile on it. Big brother, why are you staring at my plastic bag? The sweet voice woke Bailey Chung up from his thoughts. He frowned slightly. That's right. Why was he staring at the little girl's plastic bag? Big brother, are you interested in the brand I bought and want to buy it for your girlfriend? Tanghua opened the plastic bag and pointed the opening of the bag at Bailey Chung. Or is it because these things are more private and you're too embarrassed to buy them at the supermarket? Bailey Chung couldn't help but glance at the plastic bag and then quickly look away. The daily necessities she bought were indeed more private. There were 3 or 4 packs of sanitary napkins and 2 packs of sanitary pants. Perhaps because he was too close, he even saw that the packaging of the sanitary pants said that it was a 2-piece package. Lastly, there was also lingerie soap and so on. Therefore, he glanced at it and quickly moved away. Big brother, actually, if you go to the supermarket and buy these things, no one will care about what you buy. If you really have a good relationship with your girlfriend, you should go and buy them. Face isn't important at all. Bailey Chung subconsciously said, No, I don't have a girlfriend. How could he have a girlfriend? He wasn't interested in that kind of troublesome creature at all. He planned to spend the rest of his life alone. Oh, then why are you staring at my plastic bag? Facing the girl's pursuit, Bailey Chung felt embarrassed for the first time. Why was he staring at the girl's plastic bag? Most importantly, she bought something so private. Most people would think that he was a pervert. You're not a pervert, right? Tangwa asked. System, oh no, I'm dying of laughter. Host, you're really too naughty. You bully me every time. Now, he didn't need to ask. The only person who could be bullied like this by Madam Host was his cutie. Otherwise, with her temperament, it was impossible for her to speak so much to a stranger. Bai Li Chung denied, classmate, you're mistaken. I'm not a pervert. Use a perverts des Bai Li Chung. T.S. facing Tang with suspicious gaze. Bai Li Chung didn't know what to say. T.ofs 8 stang Tang's teeths. Chapter 1650. Big Brother, can you please explain why you're staring at my plastic bag? Tangwa looked like she was going to tell everyone that he was a pervert if he didn't explain. This made Bai Li Chung speechless. According to his personality, he should have turned around and left when faced with such a troublesome creature. But not only did he not leave, he was still thinking about how to prove that he wasn't a pervert. When did he become someone who cared about other people's opinions? He couldn't just say that he saw her trying to pack up all these expensive and useful daily necessities in the supermarket, and then he heard her telling her classmates that she had chosen cheap and useful daily necessities. So he was curious about it, right? At that time, she would probably say that he was not only a pervert, but also a stalker. That would be even more difficult to explain. Suddenly, Bai Li Chung had a flash of inspiration, and his expression became relaxed. This time, he even openly looked at Tangwa's plastic bag. Classmate, I was indeed looking at your plastic bag just now. Are you going to admit that you're a pervert? Tangwa asked. Big Brother, actually you're not bad looking, but why do you have such heavy tastes? If you get rid of these bad habits, your life will definitely become very beautiful. System. Ha ha ha, still teasing people. Bai Li Chung didn't panic at all, and a faint smile hung on his face. Classmate, to be honest, I'm just curious why you chose these few brands, because these are new brands that our supermarket just introduced from abroad. Under the current situation, there aren't many people buying them. So, after looking at them for so long, I really want to investigate why you chose these few brands. Actually, there are many brands in the country that are more suitable for students like you, and they're also more comfortable to use. System. Host, look, he's seriously investigating with you how it feels to use these brands. I'm sorry for the misunderstanding just now. I wonder if you're free right now? Can we go to the water bar and talk? I need an experience report, and after we talk, there will be a lot of free gifts, at most half an hour. Is it convenient? It's convenient. Tangwa changed her mind about going directly to the dormitory and directly agreed, and then asked, are the free gifts from the same brand? Yes. The corners of Bai Li Chung's lips twitched. She really had a soft spot for these brands. Next, the two of them chose a nearby bar. Student, tell me what you think. It had to be said that Bai Li Chung looked very professional. He even took out a small notebook and pen, planning to write it down. Since he was so professional, Tangwa had to be more professional as well. Tongzi, I've never used these brands before. Hurry up and scan them for me. How many people in the world are using them? What's the feeling of using them? With a smile on her face, Tangwa slowly took out a pack of sanitary pads. The system's scan was very fast. Soon, it summarized the reputation of these few brands on the internet, as well as the feelings of countless people after using them, and sent it to Tangwa's mind. Therefore, when Bai Li Chung heard Tangwa talking about the benefits of this brand in a serious and clear manner, his expression became very serious. It seemed that this student was really a loyal user of these brands. Chapter 1651. Half an hour later, Bai Li Chung brought Tangwa to the supermarket with a satisfied look on his face. He gave her a bunch of gifts, all of which were daily necessities from the same brands. He even gave her some new products from other brands, hoping that she could tell him how she felt after using them. Naturally, the two of them exchanged contact numbers. In the end, she didn't know what Bai Li Chung's purpose was, or maybe he was a gentleman. Seeing that the sky was almost dark, he sent Tangwa to the school gate. Tangwa walked back to the dormitory with two big plastic bags in her hands. Dear host, your cutie has a lot of supermarkets under his name. You seem to have a good chat today. Would he be unhappy? The information you gave me is equivalent to doing a global big data analysis for these few brands that are unfamiliar to the Chinese. As a businessman, how could he not be satisfied with this? I reckon that when he goes back, he will write a proposal to develop these few brands. Who knows, in the future, he might even be able to cooperate with these few foreign brands and become the best agent or something. Tangwa pursed her lips. You only gave me a few gifts. How stingy. Well, dear host, we are going to be family in the future. Why do you have to be so calculative? We are family. There is no need to draw such a clear line. It is not good for the relationship. When Tangwa returned to the dormitory, Hu Xiaolan was the only one there. This afternoon, because Hu Xiaolan didn't bring her keys, she and Gao Lily searched for Tangwa in a big circle, but couldn't find her. In the end, they had no choice but to ask the dormitory manager for the spare keys. The dormitory manager took the keys and scolded from the first floor to the 7th floor. Not to mention the entire female dormitory building. Even the other students in the dormitory probably knew that they did not bring their keys and were scolded by that old witch. Seeing that Tangwa had returned, Hu Xiaolan could not help but ask, Tangwa, where did you go this afternoon? Why didn't I see you? I couldn't even get through to your phone. Lily and I went to the cafeteria and the library to look for you. You were not in the library, so you should at least have your phone on. It is so late and there is no news at all. What if something happened? Hey, what did you buy? Hu Xiaolan's attention was quickly attracted by the 2 plastic bags in Tangwa's hands. Did you go shopping? Tangwa nodded. Yeah, I went to the library to read for a while after dinner and forgot to turn on my phone. After that, I went out for a walk. I didn't expect to see a supermarket having an event. What did you buy? Food? No, sanitary pads, sanitary pants, and daily necessities like antibacterial soap. When Hu Xiaolan heard this, she immediately lost interest. Very cheap. It's cheap. Tangwa smiled warmly and held up the 2 bags. Buy 1 bag and get 1 bag free. It's really a good deal. I've been tight on cash recently. Even though I'm holding an event, it's still so cheap. I won't have to buy these things for the next 6 months. The supermarket also gave me many other brands for me to try. Originally, Hu Xiaolan was not interested when she heard that it was inside a sanitary pad. Then he heard Tangwa say, buy a bag, get a bag free. How cheap, useless, and difficult to sell. Why would the other party make such a loss-making deal? It was possible that the shelf life of the sanitary pads was almost up. Only people like Tangwa would buy sanitary pads at a cheaper price. How could such things be bought at a cheaper price? Chapter 1652. Xiaolan, do you want some? I can give you 2 packets, Tangwa said kindly. Hu Xiaolan quickly shook her head. No, I'll buy it myself. Besides, we don't use the same brand. I've been using this brand for a long time, and I always thought it was good. I don't dare to use other brands that I'm not familiar with. All right. Tangwa also knew that Hu Xiaolan was more particular about using these things. That was why she said that. If it were Gao Lily, she would not have said that. Although Gao Lily did not like cheap things, it would be a waste if she did not take advantage of others. Even if she did not use it, she would accept it if others gave it to her. She would not reject them even if they were moldy. Gao Lily looked glamorous every time she went out. In fact, she was not particular about things in the dormitory at all. It was as if she was a completely different person. Tangwa glanced at Gao Lily's table and bed. On the table, all kinds of cosmetics were placed messily on it. The books were also very messy. There was a thick layer of powder on the makeup brushes and the makeup eggs. It was unknown how long it had been since they were washed. Not to mention Gao Lily's various kinds of shoes. If she did not wear them, she would not take care of them. She would only wipe her shoes clean every time she wore them. At this moment, 20 to 30 pairs of shoes were piled together messily. There was a faint, unpleasant smell. Gao Lily probably knew that, and even sprayed some perfume on them. The smell was a little sour. System. Wretch Tangwa put the 2 bags of sanitary napkins into the cabinet and locked them. Although the original owner was not a person who would refuse, she would still lock the things she cared about in the cabinet. Of course, when someone asked her for them, she would not reject them. She planned to wash up and lie down on the bed. When she came to the sink, she glanced at Gao Lily's wash basin. A pair of blue underwear was soaking in it. There were some faint bloodstains in it. Host, this is unbearable. I need to block out the smell. Gal Lily was too casual. She dressed so glamorously outside. Her life was too dirty. He had seen all kinds of beauties. Even someone like Gal Lily couldn't stand it. It's okay. When the time comes, I'll isolate that part of mine. I'll replace the one in the wash basin. Every time I use it, I'll put it there. Gal Lily was still the kind of person who liked to casually use other people's wash basins. Tangwa had already seen that Gal Lily's various socks were soaking in her bucket. Host, your bucket is occupied. The system said weakly that she was used to it. The original owner was used to it. Then I don't want it. It wasn't that Tangwa was giving in to Gal Lily. It was just that she wasn't willing to help Gal Lily with her hygiene. As for the bucket, Gal Lily would destroy it after she took away the stuff inside. He didn't throw it away. He just poked a hole in it. She couldn't be the one to blame Gal Lily. The first person who couldn't stand Gal Lily couldn't be her. She looked around the dormitory and felt that it would be more appropriate for Hu Xiaolan and Gal Lily to fight. System, naughty. She didn't want to do anything. She just didn't want the girl to have an excuse to take advantage of her. The girl couldn't take advantage of her, and she couldn't take advantage of Long Ruofei either. How could two girls not have conflicts after living together for a long time? Chapter 1653. Gal Lily's living habits were completely different from Hu Xiaolan's. It was just that Gal Lily couldn't influence Hu Xiaolan normally, and Hu Xiaolan wasn't the kind of person who would kindly remind others of their hygiene habits. Under normal circumstances, Hu Xiaolan wouldn't help others point out anything wrong. Instead, she would silently choose to watch and let the other party get worse and worse. Only when it came to Hu Xiaolan would she jump up and make a scene. For example, Gal Lily used Tangwa's bucket and basin. The original owner had said a few words before, telling Gal Lily not to use her bucket to soak those things and not to wash them for 2 or 3 days. Gal Lily would smile and say that she forgot, and that she would wash them clean after using them. Hu Xiaolan also chimed in, saying that since Gal Lily had already washed them clean, they shouldn't be so calculative since they were all in the same dormitory. If it were her, she would probably have stood up and made a scene with Gal Lily. Tangwa quickly washed up and lay on the bed. She put down the bed curtains to isolate the strange smell outside. This Lily, seriously? Her underwear has been soaked for a whole day. Why isn't she washing them? She's too careless. Hearing Hu Xiaolan's complaints outside, Tangwa's lips curled up. She couldn't take it anymore? What she couldn't take was yet to come. Gal Lily and Hu Xiaolan's relationship was very close. Hu Xiaolan muttered a lot. Finally, she walked in and said to Tangwa, "Tangwa, your bucket is used by Lily again. She's soaking her shoes and socks in it. I remember that it's been 2 days, and she hasn't washed them yet. When Lily comes back, you should at least talk to her. After soaking for so long, who knows how many germs have formed? Without disinfectant, can they still be worn after washing them?" Tangwa stuck her head out and said, "Maybe she's busy. I'll talk to her later." Hu Xiaolan had achieved her goal. You just have to talk to her. Her living habits are too bad. She often uses your bucket and basin. You have a good temper too. We're all in the same dormitory. It's no big deal if she uses them, Tangwa said. Hu Xiaolan cursed in her heart. She had achieved her goal and lay down on the bed. She wouldn't do something like offending people. Only an idiot like him would do such a thankless task. Tangwa also put down the bed curtain again. Talk to Gal Lily? Forget it. She couldn't be bothered to say anything. She wasn't interested in helping others educate their daughter on her hygiene habits. Hu Xiaolan wanted to use her? There was no way. As for why he agreed. In this world, there were many people who made a promise, but when they turned around, they wouldn't even say a fart. They were all adults, and some things could be overheard by listening to it. It went in one ear and out the other. As for whether or not she would say it tomorrow, she had already forgotten about it after a good night's sleep. System, yeah, the world of adults is really complicated. There were many words that should be listened to, but not taken seriously. If you took it seriously, you would lose. I've been suffering from insomnia recently, Tangwa said. Hu Xiaolan was surprised. Was it because Gal Lily was talking to her boyfriend on the phone every night for 2 or 3 days in the wee hours of the morning? Did it bother you? No, I want to see the doctor today. System. Is that so? Did she go to see Dr. Bailey? What did he say? Hu Xiaolan wasn't concerned about Tanghua. She was just curious. Tanghua said faintly, the doctor said that I'm suffering from a nervous breakdown. I said that I can't fall asleep and have to toss and turn every day. I can only fall asleep at 3 or 4 in the morning. I see. Is it because Gao Lily disturbed you? Chapter 1654. Hu Xiaolan usually fell asleep at 11 o'clock. Naturally, she didn't know that Tanghua was suffering from insomnia. No, I'm just a little confused about the future. I'm suffering from anxiety. Tanghua sounded a little pitiful. It's already the second semester of university. I feel like I haven't learned anything, and I don't know what to do in the future. So, from today onwards, I plan to go to the library and read more books in my free time. There's nothing wrong with that. Hu Xiaolan didn't think so. In university, the most important thing was to participate in more extracurricular activities and build good relationships with classmates. This wasn't high school. Studying was not the only thing that was useful. There's nothing wrong with reading more books, Hu Xiaolan replied. Tanghua nodded. I'm going to take my medicine and get ready to sleep. The doctor said that if I don't get a good night's sleep, it will be very bad for my body. Tanghua took out a bottle of mineral water and a bottle of medicine. She swallowed 2 pills in front of Hu Xiaolan. System. Host. Who swallowed 2 throat lozenges. Are you okay? Then, Hu Xiaolan watched as Tanghua lay on the bed. After a while, she heard the sound of shallow breathing. She shook her head, sneered, and continued to play with her phone. At around 10:50, she put down her phone and got ready to sleep. She cared a lot about that face of hers. She basically didn't sleep past 11 o'clock. She slept very well. She could fall asleep in 2 minutes. At around 11:50, someone pounded on the door of the dormitory. It didn't wake Tanghua up, but it woke Hu Xiaolan up. Open the door for me. It's Gao Lily. As usual, Hu Xiaolan didn't open her eyes. She shouted at Tanghua's bed. Tanghua, Lily is back. Open the door for her. Gao Lily heard the commotion and stopped pounding on the door. However, Tanghua didn't move. She had taken sleeping pills and was sleeping very soundly. She couldn't be woken up. Hu Xiaolan called out a few times. Unbeknownst to her, Tanghua lifted the bed curtains a little. Hu Xiaolan opened her eyes and saw Tanghua sleeping soundly. She suddenly remembered that Tanghua had taken a sleeping pill. When she heard Gao Lily shouting for the door to be opened, her expression turned ferocious. She clearly knew that she was already asleep at this time. Couldn't Gao Lily come back earlier? Even if I come back later, can I bring the key with me? Hu Xiaolan was woken up by the noise. She slowly got out of bed and opened the door. Lily, why didn't you bring your key again? Gao Lily didn't care who opened the door for her, as long as someone opened the door. Didn't I forget? Xiaolan, I brought you some skewers. Hu Xiaolan looked at the food in the box, and her anger subsided a little. You can eat. I've brushed my teeth. It's so late, and I'll get fat if I eat. I brought it especially for you. Hu Xiaolan didn't want to reject Gao Lily's kindness, so she said, put it on the table. I'll heat it up tomorrow morning. Actually, she didn't know how to eat at all. She just wanted to get rid of the troublesome Gao Lily. Okay, I'll put it on the table for you. Hu Xiaolan lay back down. While she was in a daze, she heard Gao Lily's laughter. She opened her eyes and heard Gao Lily talking to her boyfriend on a video call. She suppressed her anger and said, Lily, be quiet. You're disturbing Tanghua's sleep. Tanghua seems to be sleeping very well. Gao Lily stretched her head and glanced at Tanghua. I didn't disturb her. She's sleeping very soundly today. Hu Xiaolan, you're fucking disturbing me. It's so late. Don't you have any self-awareness? System, sigh, scheming girl. It's only been a day, and these two are about to fight. Chapter 1655. That night, Tanghua slept very soundly. Even if her hearing wasn't blocked, she could still sleep well, completely unaffected by the sound of Gao Lily's laughter and her boyfriend's video call. Hu Xiaolan couldn't. If she hadn't been woken up by Gao Lily's knocking on the door, she wouldn't have been affected much by Gao Lily's phone call in the middle of the night. It was also because today wasn't so smooth for her. She didn't know where the anger in her heart came from, but Gao Lily was so noisy. If it were any other day, the one who would stand up for her would definitely not be her, but Long Ruafei. Today, Long Ruafei went home and wasn't in the dormitory, so no one could control Gao Lily. Usually, with Long Ruafei around, Gao Lily would be frightened if the other party said, "You're disturbing me?" Even if she didn't hang up, she would unknowingly become very quiet. "Lily, can you keep your voice down?" Hu Xiaolan looked at the time. It was already 3 o'clock. She didn't know what Gao Lily and her boyfriend were talking about. Just as she was about to fall asleep, Gao Lily's sudden laughter woke her up. Because of their relationship, she couldn't say anything harsh. Moreover, she was the kind of person who didn't like to fall out with others directly. No matter how uncomfortable she felt, she had to put on a good show. Although she couldn't compare to the social animals who had been in society for many years, she was still considered to know how to behave on the surface among students. "Xiaolan, did I disturb you?" Gao Lily took off her earplugs and asked in confusion. "Then I'll keep my voice down. Why don't you sleep with earplugs? That way, I won't disturb you." Gao Lily was the kind of person who only thought about herself. Other than in front of her boyfriend's friends, and male classmates, she could be shameless everywhere else. Actually, in front of the opposite sex, she didn't particularly care about her face, but most of the opposite sex liked her looks. Being shameless in front of the opposite sex wasn't called being shameless, but being coquettish, delicate, and cute. Beautiful girls had to give in. So what if such a beautiful girl had a little flaw? Most of the male classmates wouldn't be too calculative. They would argue with her and snatch things from her. Most of the time, they would let her do as she wished. She was spoiled in front of the male classmates, but in front of the female classmates, she was more annoying. "It's already so late. There's still class tomorrow morning. Otherwise, you won't be able to wake up." Of course, Hu Xiaolan would not directly say, "You're too noisy, so noisy that I can't sleep." She was such a person. No matter what he said, he would always find an excuse that he was doing it for her own good. However, this obviously wouldn't work with Gao Lily's words. Those who can get up can still go to class the next day even though they used to go online all night. You can't get when you're sleeping. If you really can't get up, then I'll have to trouble you, Xiaolon. When the roll call comes, help me say yes. Xiaolon, you're really the best. S right. The system, the Lu ant. TST, recording, tease it. In the end, Hu Xiaolan fell asleep. She covered her ears with earplugs and buried her head under the blanket. She tossed and turned. It was only around 5 o'clock that she really couldn't fall asleep. Because she had class in the morning, she had to get up at 7:30 to have more time. She instinctively looked in the direction of Tanghua and was stunned. Chapter 1656. The bed curtains were drawn and the blankets were folded neatly. "Tanghua, why are you up so early?" She saw that Tanghua had come out of the bathroom and was walking towards her. "You don't have any classes this morning, right?" "I've been suffering from insomnia lately and my body is weak, so I'm going for a run. After that, I'll go to the library to study," Tanghua said methodically. "I'm leaving." Hu Xiaolan only reacted after Tanghua had left the room and closed the door gently behind her. "No, is there something wrong?" "That's right." Usually, Tanghua would wake up around this time and take 10 minutes to freshen up. Tanghua probably only applied skincare cream and did not put on any makeup. Her clothes were also simpler and did not take much time. Moreover, her living habits were quite good. Every morning, without fail, he would go out to buy breakfast. Usually, Tanghua would leave the dormitory at 7:40 a.m., which was the time when she washed her face. Then, she would take the opportunity to call out to Tanghua and ask her to bring breakfast back. By the time she was done washing up and dressing up, Tanghua would have already brought breakfast back. She could take the breakfast and eat it while going to the classroom. This would save a lot of time. Hu Xiaolan frowned. Since Tanghua said that she was going for a run, she definitely could not let her bring breakfast back especially for her. Because Gao Lily had made so much noise last night that she could not sleep, her mind was not clear. Tanghua's lifestyle had also changed. She felt even more uncomfortable that she could not eat free breakfast. After washing up, she had to go to the cafeteria to buy breakfast again. Just thinking about it made her very unhappy. Hence, when she was washing up, she made a lot of noise. Gao Lily was woken up by the noise. Lower your voice. Do you want me to sleep? Who's Xiaolan? Mommy, please. Gao Lily's eyes were closed. She had a temper when she woke up and was fiercer than anyone who disturbed her sleep. Hu Xiaolan's movements were slightly quieter, but Gao Lily still felt that she was being disturbed. She did not care who it was and shouted, "Can you lower your voice? It's so early in the morning. Do you want me to sleep?" Hu Xiaolan was furious. Fortunately, she had already finished washing up. She glanced at Gao Lily, who was still sleeping. She walked to her bed and patted it. "Lily, get up. It's time for class." Gao Lily's tone softened when she heard Hu Xiaolan's voice. "I'm so sleepy. I only went to bed at about 6 o'clock. I can't get up." "Xiaolan, why don't you say yes for me when the professor takes attendance?" "All right." The corners of Hu Xiaolan's mouth twitched. However, this can be easily exposed. After all, we're already in our second year of study. The professors are already familiar with us. "Lily, you'd better get up. You can sit in the back row and catch up on your sleep." "I really can't get up." Gao Lily covered her head with the quilt. "Whatever, just deal with it if you can. If the professor finds out, I won't be responsible." "I know, I don't blame you. If that old man really wants to pursue the matter, I'll just consider myself unlucky." After hearing Gao Lily's words, Hu Xiaolan prepared to pack up and leave. Hu Xiaolan went to the cafeteria for breakfast. When she was almost done, she saw a sweaty Tanghua appear. "You went to class?" The smile on Tanghua's face was very clean. "Indeed, after running for a while, I've sweated a lot. I've decided to wake up earlier to run in the future." Chapter 1657. "That's good," Hu Xiaolan said indifferently. "Can you get up so early?" "I have to get up for my health. I don't want to break down from studying in university." "Okay, I'm going to class now." Hu Xiaolan felt that there was nothing to say. She couldn't just say that he got up so early to run and missed the time to bring her breakfast, right? She still wanted face. Tanghua walked into the cafeteria and bought a sumptuous breakfast. She brought it to a corner and ate slowly. Suddenly, her phone rang. She glanced at it and saw that it was a message from Bai Liqing. "Bai Liqing, Miss Tang, you helped me a lot yesterday." "Tanghua, I was just telling you how I felt after using it." "System, you haven't used it yet." What a hypocritical woman. In order to flirt with men, she lost all her integrity. "Bai Liqing, I think that the gifts I gave you yesterday were a little shabby. Miss Tang's words have given me a lot of directions." "Tanghua, the gifts are good. I can save a few months of money. After all, I'm a little short on money." "Bai Liqing, is that so? You're so short on money that you can only use expensive imported products?" "Bai Liqing, Miss Tang, I've decided. In the future, all the necessities you need will be provided by my supermarket. According to what you said yesterday, we plan to collect more user experience. If it's really good, we'll promote this brand." Tanghua almost choked when she saw this. "System, pretty good. You won't have to worry about sanitary products for the rest of your life." "Bai Liqing, Miss Tang, are you interested in opening a social media account? I think that Miss Tang knows a lot about products. If you open a social media account, you can attract more attention." "System, this guy, is he trying to cultivate his Miss Tang into a sanitary napkin celebrity?" "Tanghua, aren't you thinking too highly of me?" "Bai Liqing, Miss Tang, this should be a good thing for you. Because Miss Tang knows a lot about a brand, I think that Miss Tang is very suitable for this. Actually, what I'm thinking is that we'll be releasing a lot of new products in the future. We need people to try them out. Miss Tang is a very suitable candidate. Not only is she serious, but she also has good taste. If Miss Tang is interested, we can find some time to talk in person." Tanghua pondered for a moment and continued to send a message. "Do I need to show my face?" "Bailey Chung, not showing my face." "Tanghua, all right then. I don't have classes in the morning. Are you free?" Bailey Chung, yes. Originally, he was looking for internet celebrities in this field, but he couldn't find a suitable one. He wanted to make something real, the kind that didn't contain water. Many internet celebrities were paid to do things. Even if the product wasn't suitable, for the sake of money, they would still promote the product. It wasn't good. The social media account that he wanted to create was one that would only promote useful high-end products. Therefore, the products that he brought out had to be tested and written down with their own thoughts. It wasn't hard to find people in this field who asked him to meet Tangwa by chance yesterday. He thought to himself, why don't I choose her? She's really suitable. Host, I think Bailey Chung is single for a reason. He couldn't help but laugh. In the future, when he thought of today, would he cry and coax his future wife to become an internet celebrity or sanitary napkins or something like that? Tangwa looked up. Isn't he single to attract my attention? System, get lost. Chapter 1658. After finishing her meal, Tangwa immediately returned to the dormitory and quietly changed her clothes. Seeing that Gao Lily was sleeping soundly, she carried her bag and gently opened the door. There was still some time before the appointment with Bailey Chung. She first went to the business office to apply for a new card. It was not good to turn off her phone every day. In the future, when she needed it, she could just turn off the other card. Anyway, the original owner's current social circle was all trouble to her. As for her new card, it would be used to store her new social circle. People who only took advantage of others and did not suffer losses could be regarded as acquaintances. There was no need to care too much about them. After applying for the card, it was almost time for the appointment with Bailey Chung. This time, Bailey Chung agreed to meet her at a more formal coffee shop. He was full of sincerity. When he came, he even brought a contract with him. Actually, Bailey Chung also felt that he was a little strange. Such a small matter could have been done by his assistant, but he actually came by himself. He also felt that it was very interesting. He kept feeling that something was not right. It was as if some virus had invaded and maliciously changed the operating system. When he saw Tangwa, all the messy things in his mind disappeared. The two sat in the coffee shop and talked for a long time. Tangwa also felt that this job was not bad. It was mainly because the experience after using these products was not like the other part-time jobs that the original owner found. Not only did it take a lot of time, but she also had to stand or be busy the whole time. The returns were also less. It was much easier to be an internet celebrity with sanitary napkins. After all, she was just an ordinary university student. Her standard of living was definitely higher than the original owner's. She needed a source of income. In the end, the two of them had a good chat. Tangwa even registered a social media account on the spot. Bailey Chung was her first follower. When they left, Tangwa gave Bailey Chung her new number. Then, the two of them left. Tangwa turned off the other card and went straight to the library to read. At around 10 o'clock, Gao Lily was awakened by hunger. She subconsciously glanced at the table. As usual, when Tangwa brought breakfast for Hu Xiaolan, she would also bring one for her. But looking at the messy table with nothing on it, Gao Lily couldn't help but complain. This Tangwa, why didn't she bring me breakfast? How could she forget something like this? She remembered that Tangwa didn't have class today, so she instinctively took out her phone and called Tangwa. Of course, his phone was turned off. Gao Lily complained again about why Tangwa had turned off her phone. Then, he remembered that Hu Xiaolan should be back soon. Let Xiaolan take care of him. She happened to be coming back from the teaching building. Actually, going to the cafeteria from the teaching building required a detour. It was not far, just an extra 5 minutes. If they had a good relationship, this wouldn't be a problem at all. However, Gao Lily was a person who liked to take advantage of others, and Hu Xiaolan was a person who was always at a disadvantage. If there was no problem when the two of them were together, it could only mean that there was a big idiot between them. Xiaolan, when you come back, bring me breakfast. Please, I'm starving. Hu Xiaolan gritted her teeth and agreed. Okay, what do you want? Gao Lily nagged a lot. When she hung up, she said, Xiaolan is still the best. Chapter 1659. Tangwa's phone is switched off again. I really don't know what she's doing. I can't find her at all. She probably went to the library. Her phone is always switched off when she goes to the library. Hu Xiaolan said subconsciously. She didn't know that Tanghua had deliberately hypnotized her on the first day. It was a common hypnosis technique. Every time someone asked why Tanghua's phone was switched off, she would subconsciously say that she went to the library. Not long after, Hu Xiaolan returned to the dormitory with breakfast. She sent it to Gao Lily's bed. Breakfast is here. Thank you. It's 4 yuan. Cash or WeChat. Hu Xiaolan was already very generous to bring breakfast for Gao Lily. It was impossible for her to pay for it or not to ask for money. Gao Lily was obviously stunned. Perhaps it was because Hu Xiaolan wasn't Tanghua, but she also understood that Hu Xiaolan was a shrewd person. She took out her phone. I'll transfer the money to your WeChat. If it was Tanghua, she would probably say, I'm starving. I'll pay you later. Then, she would forget about it after eating. The original owner of this body was an honest person. She was too shy to ask for a few yuan. She was also a pleasing person. She was afraid that asking for money directly would hurt her roommate's feelings. Naturally, she didn't do anything. Actually, after transferring the money to Hu Xiaolan, Gao Lily felt a little strange. It was just 4 yuan, and she couldn't wait to get it back. She was too stingy. Of course, she wouldn't say this out loud. Lily, I have bad news for you. The professor called me today, and I was exposed. Gao Lily was biting a bun and almost spat it out. Exposed? Yes. I woke up late and ate breakfast. The seats behind were all taken, so I could only sit in the front row. Your name was in front of mine, so after I answered for you, the professor called out my name. I was going to say that I was Gao Lily, but I didn't expect the old man to look at me with a smile. He even patted my head and said, I remember that your name isn't Gao Lily. You're Hu Xiaolan, right? You almost failed last semester. Gao Lily was originally a little angry, but when she saw Hu Xiaolan on the verge of tears and heard the professor's words, she laughed out loud. All right, I won't blame you. At most, I won't skip his classes this semester. This professor was a rather open-minded old man. He gave every student 3 chances to skip classes in a semester. No matter how good your exam results were, if you were caught by him for more than 3 times, you would fail the subject. Before this, Gao Lily had already skipped 2 classes and was caught. Hu Xiaolan, if I had known, I would have gone down earlier. I had no choice but to buy breakfast today. Did you go down to eat breakfast by yourself? Didn't you ask Tanghua to bring it for you? Hu Xiaolan shook her head. She went out for a run early in the morning. She said she was weak and needed to exercise. If I waited for her to bring me breakfast, I would have been late. Both of them didn't say anything else. And did Hu Xiaolan really sit in the front row because she arrived too late? Only she knew the answer to that. Tanghua studied until noon. Then, she went to the cafeteria for lunch. She had no intention of going back to the dormitory. Gao Lily had already woken up. After all, she was going to the cafeteria with her boyfriend for lunch, so she had to dress up nicely. Seeing this, Hu Xiaolan hurriedly shouted, Lily, bring your keys. Tanghua might not come back in the afternoon and continue to study in the library. Chapter 1660. She really didn't want to open the door for Gao Lily. Wasn't she supposed to take her afternoon nap? Gao Lily reluctantly took the key and left the dormitory. After leaving, she muttered to herself, Xiaolan is so troublesome. Isn't Xiaolan in the dormitory at noon? What's wrong with opening the door for her? Host, Gao Lily brought her keys today. Oh, then let's go back to the dormitory. I want to take a nap too. Seeing Tanghua come back, Hu Xiaolan was a little surprised. Aren't you going to the library? I have class in the afternoon. I'm very sleepy, so I came back to rest. Hu Xiaolan felt that she was at a disadvantage today and felt uncomfortable. She remembered that Gao Lily's shoes and socks were soaked in Tanghua's bucket and said, Tanghua, did you tell Lily to wash her shoes and socks early? They've been soaking in the bucket for so long that they're smelly. I forgot. Tanghua thought for a moment. When I woke up, she fell asleep. I didn't have time to tell her. Then you should at least tell Gao Lily when she sees her later. Okay, I'll tell her when I see her. Actually, it's okay to let her use it. We're all roommates, right? I don't care so much. It's just that things that are soaked in the bucket for too long will breed a lot of bacteria and can't be washed clean. It's probably harmful to the body if she wears it. Hu Xiaolan, you should be on good terms with Gao Lily. If you see her, you should tell her. This is for her own good. I've been having a nervous breakdown recently and my memory is bad. You're so close to Gao Lily and care about her so much. You definitely don't want her to get sick. You must remind her when she remembers. System. What the fuck is for Gao Lily's own good? The host is really applying what she learned. Hu Xiaolan's face stiffened. She looked at Tang with small face and her eyes that were filled with sincerity. She really was worried about Gao Lily's health. For someone like Gao Lily, would the other party listen to her? Then, Tangwa continued to put on her earplugs and lay down to take a nap. Gao Lily opened the door and saw Tangwa sleeping. She was surprised. She's back? Yeah, she'll be here soon after you leave. Hu Xiaolan couldn't fall asleep no matter how hard she tried. She clearly didn't sleep well yesterday. 5 minutes later, Tangwa woke up. Hu Xiaolan hoped that Tangwa would tell Gao Lily to wash the things in the bucket. Unexpectedly, Tangwa seemed to have completely forgotten. Hu Xiaolan's expression changed several times before Tangwa finally asked, Xiaolan, what's wrong? Hu Xiaolan was speechless. Seeing that Tangwa had left, Hu Xiaolan finally couldn't hold it in any longer. The things that Gao Lily was soaking in were really disgusting. Every time she went out, it would stink her. She missed Lung Ruofei a little. Lung Ruofei wouldn't spoil Gao Lily. Unfortunately, Lung Ruofei only stayed in the dormitory 2 or 3 times a week, at most 3 times. Seeing that Tangwa was about to go out, Hu Xiaolan hurriedly said, Lily, you should wash all the things outside. Look at how long they've been soaking in the water. The smell is everywhere. He had been occupying Tangwa's bucket, and she might want to use it again. Now, you've even dirted her bucket. Tangwa turned back and said, Yeah, Lily, it's not good to soak things for too long. Gao Lily's face darkened. She was about to say that she would wash Tangwa when she heard Tangwa continue. Actually, I don't really use the bucket. You can use it if you want. We're all roommates, so it's okay if you use it. But if those things soak for too long, it's easy for bacteria to grow. It's not good for your health. Gao Lily looked at Tangwa with a much gentler gaze. I'll wash it in a while. But the way she looked at Hu Xiaolan wasn't very good. The smell was everywhere. Wasn't that disdain for her? Tangwa didn't even say that she wouldn't give her the bucket. She wanted her to wash it because she was worried about her health. Hu Xiaolan was speechless. Things were really different from what she had imagined. Then I'll go to class first. Lily, remember to wash it early. It's best if you add some disinfectant. It's really not good for your health if you wear it if it grows too much bacteria. Who didn't like to hear words of concern? Gao Lily was the same. If Hu Xiaolan said that the things she soaked in smelled everywhere, that meant that she disliked her. If Tangwa only said that she was worried that she would get sick after wearing it, that meant that she cared about her. She didn't think that someone as stupid as Tangwa would lie. So, she must be concerned about her. Tangwa closed the door and left with a smile on her face. When dealing with such a clingy person who had been her roommate for 3 to 4 years, it was easy to get into trouble if she directly rebuked her. The best way was to be a black lotus. When dealing with a clingy person, there was no need to be particular about tactics. Chapter 1661. Ever since Tangwa came to this world, she would always arrive at the classroom half a minute before the bell rang. In university classes, most students were unwilling to sit in the first 2 rows. If she arrived late, the middle and back seats would be taken by other students. In this case, she could only choose the first 2 rows of seats. To avoid any trouble, she chose to sit in the first row. She was a good student. If she sat in the first row, it would be easier for her to attract the professor's attention. Actually, in university, the first people to build a good relationship with were the teachers of each subject. Other than the counselors, most of them were subject teachers. They would leave after class, so they taught more classes. It was your ability to attract the other party's attention in a short period of time. It was not that there were no students who chose to sit in the first row, but in comparison, there were only a few. At this moment, there was another girl sitting in the same row as Tangwa. She only took a glance at Tangwa and then buried her head to flip through her book. Today, Chi came to class. She arrived earlier than Tangwa. Sitting around her were all the boys in the class. Even though Tangwa had helped her a lot, she still did not think of saving a seat for Tangwa. Seeing that Tangwa could only sit in the first row, she did not feel anything at all. It should be said that she still had some resentment towards Tangwa because of what happened last time. She could not directly question Tangwa about turning off her phone and not answering her calls. If she brought it up, she would probably use a joking tone and ask what was going on. During class, the professor took a few more glances at the girl who Tangwa had chosen to sit in the first row this time. It was not that they could not remember the students in the class, but there were too many students. The only one who could make them remember was the one who stood out and was not bad. He vaguely remembered that this girl seemed to like to choose a seat in the corner, even though there were many people sitting around her every time. However, he still felt that she did not seem to fit in with them. In other words, her presence was weak. The other students did not have a good relationship with her. It was easy for them to ignore her no matter what they did. At least he had 2 classes in a row. During the break, the girls around her were all holding hands as they went to the washroom, while she silently followed behind them. Now that she had caught his attention, he glanced at Tangwa and pointed at her, gesturing for her to stand up and answer the question. He had thought that she was a shy, introverted girl who was too shy to show off. Unexpectedly, there was a hint of a smile in her eyes. She answered his question clearly and clearly without any stage fright. The professor's eyes lit up. After that, Tangwa was slapped no less than 5 times throughout the entire class. Every time, she was able to answer perfectly, which made the professor very satisfied. Could this be a treasure? Tangwa's behavior attracted the attention of the girl sitting in the same row as her, Han Yunya. Han Yunya was a top student. In the last semester, she ranked first in every subject in the class. Even in some hands-on experiments, she was still the first. She was such an outstanding and good-looking girl. Even if she did not deliberately curry favor with anyone, there were many people who wanted to get close to her, regardless of whether they were men or women. In particular, she was good at dressing up and came from a good family. After the professor left, Han Yunya had already moved to Tangwa's side and whispered, "This old man has his eyes on you." Chapter 1662. If you don't believe me, just wait and see. Don't even think about skipping his next class. Han Yunya's beautiful face had a smile. You'll lose a lot of opportunities when you attend his class in the future. Tangwa packed up her books and asked, "What opportunities?" "You'll be absent-minded in class, playing with your mobile phone, watching movies, and even skipping class. You've been targeted by him. Throughout the whole university, as long as it's his class, he'll make you return to your high school days. In the future, he'll pay special attention to any homework, topics, and final exam papers you do. He'll pay special attention to you. Even if you sit in the back row, you won't escape his sharp eyes. He'll even wave at you and say, 'Tangwa, why are you sitting so far away? Come to the front row.'" Han Yunya still couldn't help but smile. She patted Tangwa on the shoulder and whispered, "Congratulations, Tangwa. You're the second person in this class to be targeted by Old Man Chen." Tangwa recalled Professor Chen's style from her memory. What Han Yunya said was indeed the truth. Why did Han Yunya sit in the first row every time? In fact, sitting in the middle was the best perspective. In the first semester of university, Han Yunya was the person Professor Chen paid special attention to. Later, she sat in other seats. When Professor Chen took time to answer questions, he waved at her and asked her to come to the first row. He also said that her voice was too soft. He could only hear her clearly if she sat in the first row and answered the questions. Who said that top students didn't skip class? Han Yunya had also skipped class, but Professor Chen had a deep impression of her. Her contact information was on the list. One day, she skipped class, and Professor Chen called her in front of the whole class. "I seem to be free," Han Yunya said with relief. Tangwa glanced at her. "Not necessarily. There are only 2 of us. He has so much time in one class. He can ask us to answer a few questions casually." "Forget it. Anyway, it's good to have someone to distract us." When they left the classroom, Han Yunya was still holding her books and took the initiative to walk side by side with Tangwa. "I didn't realize before that you're quite impressive. Last semester, The original owner's exam results were above average. It was said that in university, one only needed to score 60 points and not fail. In fact, many people didn't know that no matter what school it was, since scores and grades were set, those who did well would definitely be better than those who did poorly. 60 points. That could only be called passing time. Previously, I suddenly understood. I spent more than a semester in a daze, as if I didn't learn anything. Since I can't find the best direction for the time being, I might as well learn what I have. Han Yunya nodded in agreement. That's a good idea. After that, the two of them entered another classroom together. They chose to sit in the first row at the same time and sat next to each other. Since there was no class, the two of them exchanged contact information. Tangwa looked at the new card. There were 2 contacts lying on it. The corners of her lips curled up. These were her new friends. She remembered reading a passage somewhere. The general idea was that the people who respected you were not because you were outstanding, but because the people who respected you were outstanding themselves. When you were outstanding, you would naturally meet people of the same level. And those who were not outstanding enough would only look up to you, chase after you, and flatter you. Those who were inferior would not dare to sit on the same level as you. Chapter 1663. During the 2 classes in the afternoon, Tangwa and Han Yunya, the top student, established a deep friendship. The two of them lived in the same dormitory, but on different floors. After telling each other their dormitory numbers, Han Yunya said that they would go together for the next class. Tangwa readily agreed. It was really comfortable to play with a top student who knew how to respect others and had a good temper. By the way, I'm going to the library to read later. Are you coming? The dormitory was full of smoke. She didn't want to stay there all the time. Han Yunya quickly nodded. Yes, why don't we put the books back first, have dinner, and then go to the library? Of course, Tangwa had no objection and agreed. Then Han Yunya saw Tangwa running quickly, as if something was chasing her. She also quickly turned back to the dormitory. She was very happy to be able to talk to someone so comfortably today. Tangwa returned to the dormitory. Sure enough, there was no one inside. After putting down the books, she went downstairs. Han Yunya lived on the lower floor and was already waiting downstairs. Naturally, she turned off the other card. The two of them lined up for dinner together, eating and chatting as if they were old friends who had known each other for many years. After dinner, they went to the library together. Everything was reasonable. Hu Xiaolan and Gao Lily, of course, didn't come back together. When she returned to the dormitory, she felt a little unwell. When she opened the glass door of the sink, a stinky smell wafted over. She quickly turned it off. This Gao Lily hadn't showered yet. That Tangwa, too. Was she a fool? Her bucket had been occupied for so many days, but she didn't mind at all. She had never seen such a stupid person. She put down the books. She didn't want to stay in the dormitory, so she went straight to the cafeteria to eat. She was halfway there when she received a call from Gao Lily. Xiaolan, aren't you in the dormitory? I'm eating in the cafeteria. How long will it be? Come back and open the door for me. Hu Xiaolan frowned. You didn't bring your key again? I forgot. Xiaolan, you're the best. Come back and open the door for me after eating. Hearing Gao Lily's slightly coquettish tone, the anger in Hu Xiaolan's heart rose rapidly, and she fiercely threw the spoon onto the plate. Forget my ass. I just ate. Hu Xiaolan's tone was a little unpleasant. Tangwa didn't come back? I saw that her book was in the dormitory. She should have come back and gone out again. She seems to have turned off her phone. Hu Xiaolan heaved a sigh of relief. It's most likely in the library. Xiaolan, I'm going back to the dorm to change my clothes. Can you eat faster? Hu Xiaolan could no longer tolerate Gao Lily's behavior, but she still held back. I eat slowly. Then what should we do? You can get it from the cafeteria, or you can go to the library and ask Tangwa for it. The library is very far from the dormitory. It'll take more than 10 minutes to walk. I'd better go to the cafeteria to get it from you. It'll only take 3 to 5 minutes to walk here. All right, come and get it. When Gao Lily took the key, Hu Xiaolan couldn't help but remind her, Lily, remember to bring the key next time. If we're not around and you don't have the key, You won't be able to enter the dormitory. All right, I know. I'll definitely bring it next time. Gao Lily answered perfunctorily and left with the key. When Hu Xiaolan finished eating, she returned to the dormitory. She knocked on the door, but no one opened it. She took out her phone and called Gao Lily. Lily, you're not in the dormitory? Chapter 1664. No, I'm outside with my boyfriend. Xiaolan, what's the matter? I'm a little busy now. Let's talk later, okay? Hu Xiaolan thought to herself. Hu Xiaolan only felt that her chest was about to explode. She suppressed the rising anger and said, Lily, why didn't you return the key to me? How can I enter the dormitory without the key? I'm sorry, Xiaolan. My boyfriend called to rush me after I changed my clothes. I was afraid that they would be anxious, so I went out in a hurry and forgot about it. Hu Xiaolan felt that she had given all her patience to Gao Lily. Where are you? I'll get the key. Gao Lily told her a location, and Hu Xiaolan clenched her fists and went. She swore that she would never give the key to Gao Lily in the future. If she gave it to Gao Lily, she would swallow shit. Just as she walked to the school gate, she received a call from Gao Lily. The other party's voice was full of apology. Xiaolan, go and ask Tanghua for the key. I seem to have left in a hurry and forgot to bring your key. Hu Xiaolan could no longer hold back her expression. Her cheeks were about to crack. She really wanted to smash the phone and beat Gao Lily up. Got it. Tanghua was reading in the library. All of this was dictated and relayed to her by the system. Seeing Gao Lily torturing Hu Xiaolan, she couldn't help but laugh out loud. What are you reading? Why are you laughing so happily? Han Yunya asked. Tanghua shook her head. I'm just in a good mood all of a sudden. She couldn't say that she was laughing out loud while looking at the relationship between Hu Xiaolan and Gao Lily, the two beauties. In the past, when she was in the middle, the two beauties had teamed up to bully her. Naturally, they would get along very well. Do you want to go shopping? Tanghua asked. Han Yunya closed the book. Let's go. Reading all the time is not good for the eyes. It's better to go out for a walk when appropriate. When Hu Xiaolan walked to the library, Tanghua and Han Yunya put the books back to their original positions. They went out of the school through the nearest door to the library. I want to buy some clothes. Han Yunya looked at Tanghua's plain clothes and nodded. You should dress up. I think you have a good foundation. Don't wear these dark, dull, and outdated clothes all day. Young ladies should dress up prettily. What you said makes a lot of sense. Wearing this kind of gray and black all day really affects one's mood. When Hu Xiaolan arrived at the library, she naturally could not find Tanghua. She was so angry that she stomped her feet. In the end, he decided to trouble the dormitory auntie. Unexpectedly, there was no one at the dormitory. When he called her, he found out that she had taken a day off. She had no choice but to call Long Ruofei again. Long Ruofei's cold voice came from the other end. There's a traffic jam. I'll probably reach school by 9. As for Hu Xiaolan, she was so anxious that she was about to cry. At this moment, Tanghua was trying on clothes in a clothing store. In the end, under Han Yunya's suggestion, she bought 2 sets of clothes with young colors, good styles, and reasonable prices. I'm going to the supermarket to buy something. Seeing that Han Yunya was going to a small supermarket next door, Tanghua pulled her back. Let's go to the biggest supermarket. The things inside are very good. It's only 5 minutes from here. System. Host. Are you trying to attract business for your cutie? You haven't even started dating yet, and you're already so anxious to help him make money? Chapter 1665. What's the problem? She's obedient and well-behaved. Of course, I'll spoil her. Okay, no problem. You can spoil her if you want. The two of them came to the supermarket. Tanghua accompanied Han Yunya to pick and choose. Han Yunya was also buying hygiene products. Tanghua decisively recommended the previous brands to her. They're so good. System. Well, they're good. The host's cute things are all very good. That man is so lucky. His future wife will be so rich. Sister Tang. Han Yunya was still picking things when Tanghua heard a voice behind her. She turned around and saw Bailey Chung. Hey, Brother Bailey, you're still in the supermarket? Yes, I'm staying here for the time being. Bailey Chung didn't know why he continued to stay here. Maybe the supermarket's feng shui was good, so it was very comfortable to stay here. He also inadvertently came out for a walk and happened to see Tanghua. You're shopping with your friend? Yes, I think this brand is good, so I recommended it to her. I see. Bailey Chung had a smile on his face. Then I'll give you a discount. That's not very good, is it? There's nothing wrong with it. Bailey Cheng's smile didn't disappear. I'm planning to organize an event for this brand. You're just in time. A supermarket staff next to them looked confused. They didn't hear about these imported brands being discounted. Why did their boss say there would be a discount? Could it be that he didn't notice and forgot? You can choose first. The event sign hasn't been posted yet, but I'll still give you a discount. After that, Bailey Chung left. After a while, Tanghua saw a few supermarket staff coming over to put up the eye-catching yellow discount stickers. It was a limited-time discount, only for 3 hours. System, you're amazing cute. 3 hours. I'm afraid that only your future wife will notice it. Everyone else will ignore it. Bailey Chung also came. Sister Tang, I didn't lie to you, right? No. Tanghua's lips curved. She glanced at the 50% discount and couldn't stop smiling. Han Yunya felt that something was wrong. She had seen the discount in the supermarket. However, the limited-time discount in the supermarket was only for 3 hours. Forgive her for being ignorant, but she had never heard of it, unless it was an online supermarket. I just checked. This brand has a good reputation abroad. Although it's very niche, Han Yunya whispered to Tanghua. Aren't you going to buy it? 50% off. That's really a good deal. I still have a lot. Han Yunya didn't try to persuade him. She picked a few bags and went to pay the bill. Before leaving, Tanghua said goodbye to Bailey Chung. After she and Han Yunya left, he instructed the staff member who was standing at the side with a confused look on his face. The staff was still immersed in their boss's limited-time discount. After working in the supermarket for so many years, they had never seen a limited-time discount for 3 hours. You stay here and watch. When the 3 hours are up, remember to tear off the discount label on it. Bailey Chung replied expressionlessly. If he didn't pay attention and it was sold out, then he would lose a lot. A 50% discount would be a huge loss. Hu Xiaolan. When she arrived at the door of the dormitory, Tanghua saw Hu Xiaolan squatting there, looking pitiful. Hu Xiaolan looked up. Where have you been? System. His tone is as if his host is a scumbag. Chapter 1666. Oh, she went shopping. Tanghua continued to ask, didn't you bring your keys? At the same time, she opened the dormitory door. Come in quickly. The floor is cold, and it's not good for your health. Remember to bring your keys the next time you go out. I originally brought my keys, but Lily didn't bring them. She took my keys back and forgot them in the dormitory. Hu Xiaolan complained. Although she couldn't find Tanghua, she was still very angry. However, Gao Lily's actions had already attracted most of her anger. The weather today was exceptionally cold. During the day, it was still considered good. With the sun shining, it was very warm. Which girl didn't like to be beautiful? Hu Xiaolan chose to wear thinner clothes in the afternoon. In the end, she stood in the dormitory for a long time, feeling the cold wind, so cold that her face turned pale. When she walked into the dormitory, she felt that her feet were cold. Tanghua entered the dormitory and placed the shopping items in the wardrobe. She turned around and poured Hu Xiaolan a cup of water. Drink some water. Do you have cold medicine? Look at your face. It's already pale from the cold wind. Hu Xiaolan held the warm cup of water, and her body slowly warmed up. The anger she had towards Tanghua had also dissipated. Although this Tanghua was a little silly, at least she wouldn't cheat her. Unlike Gao Lily, who seemed to be on good terms with her, but had never cared about her feelings. No, I see. I don't have it either. It's already so late. The pharmacies are probably closed. System. She doesn't have it either. Pfft. Hu Xiaolan was also a little scared. She had been exposed to the cold wind today and was wearing thin clothes. She would catch a cold. Oh right, turn on your phone. I remember that there's online delivery of medicine on the shopping app. It's not time for the school to close yet. See if it's okay. Hu Xiaolin quickly turned on her phone and saw that there was indeed a nighttime delivery service on the shopping app. She hurriedly bought the cold medicine and soaked her feet in hot water. Then, she crawled under the covers. Tanghua was also very nimble. She took a shower and said to Hu Xiaolin, "Is there anything else? If not, I'm going to sleep. The doctor told me not to sleep after 10 o'clock. System. Did Dr. Tang say that? That's all. Go to sleep." Tanghua had only poured a cup of hot water for Hu Xiaolin and reminded her to buy medicine online. It was basically just a matter of talking. This situation left a deeper impression on Hu Xiaolin than Tanghua, who always prepared everything for her. In fact, she even felt that this good old man wasn't too bad. This kind of reaction made the system feel very strange. Host, why is it that a good man with his mouth is more popular than a good man with his actions? Who doesn't like sweet words? Humans are emotional creatures. Sometimes, a few nice words are more effective than anything else. It seems to be like this. For example, if you praise your family's big cutie and say, "My dear, the food you cook is delicious and I want to eat it all the time," in that case, he would probably be willing to cook for the rest of his life. He would be more than happy to cook for him. The system was immensely pleased with itself as it proposed a comparison. Another example would be, say, "Your big cutie, dear. You look so handsome after washing dishes. I want to keep looking at you." Host, your big cutie will probably be proud of washing dishes for the rest of his life. Tanghua, what kind of analogy is that? However, it seemed to make some sense. Tanghua took the so-called sleeping medicine and fell asleep. No matter what happened outside, as long as there was no danger, she was determined not to wake up. Chapter 1667. Tanghua went to bed at around 9 o'clock. The medicine that Hu Xiaolin had asked for was delivered to her door in 20 minutes. She did catch a cold today and felt a little dizzy. After taking the medicine, she lay down and fell asleep in no time. Not long after Hu Xiaolin fell asleep, Lung Ruofei, who had not returned to the dormitory for 2 days, returned. Seeing that Tanghua and Hu Xiaolin were both asleep so early, she was a little surprised. Since someone was asleep, she did everything softly and made very little noise. She got into a car accident today. Under normal circumstances, her family lived in a villa on the mountainside in the suburbs where the air was better. There was still a highway halfway, so they could only leave when the road was cleared. There was no way to take a detour, so she arrived at school so late. Her trip was delayed for half a day, so she was a little tired. After washing up, Lung Ruofei lay down and got ready to sleep. Before going to bed, she glanced at Gao Lily's position. Needless to say, Gao Lily should still be playing with her boyfriend outside. According to Gao Lily's personality, she would definitely make a lot of noise when she returned to the dormitory. It was late at night. Even if she could call Gao Lily, it would affect her sleep. Therefore, she took out an eye mask and earplugs, planning to rest well. The current situation was Tanghua, who had taken sleeping pills, Hu Xiaolin, who had fallen asleep after taking cold medicine, and Lung Ruofei, who did not want to be woken up, wearing earplugs and an eye mask. It could be said that there was no possibility of the three of them waking up halfway. Even if Tanghua heard it, she would not get up to open the door. The earplugs that Lung Ruofei bought could completely block out the sound outside. The eye mask blocked out all the light, so she could not hear anything. As for Hu Xiaolin, people who caught a cold usually slept soundly. Whether they could wake up halfway depended on Gao Lily's luck. At about 11:30, Gao Lily returned to school on time. When she walked to the door of the dormitory, she knocked on the door as usual and called out for Tanghua. Naturally, she could not wake Tanghua up. She also remembered that Hu Xiaolin said that Tanghua had been suffering from insomnia recently and had to take sleeping pills every day to be able to sleep. Her expression changed slightly. In the end, she called for Hu Xiaolin. He still didn't wake her up. He had no choice but to call Hu Xiaolin. However, Hu Xiaolin had the habit of turning off her phone when she was asleep. She just didn't want to be woken up. Gao Lily was at a loss for words. She knocked on the door loudly and even kicked it with her feet. Instead of waking up the people in the dormitory, it woke up the people in the dormitory next door. A few girls walked out and looked at Gal Lily with dark expressions. What are you doing in the middle of the night? I can't get into the dormitory. I forgot to bring my key. They probably don't want to open the door for me. Of course, Gal Lily wouldn't tell him that she didn't bring her keys with her every time. Anyway, it was her roommate's fault for not opening the door for her. They knew that she would come back at this time, especially Hu Xiaolan. They knew that she didn't bring her keys. Why didn't they wait for her to come back before going to bed? Gal Lily's pitiful look did win the sympathy of the girls in the dormitory. No matter what, they felt that if they didn't open the door, the person inside was in the wrong. Then call again. Did you guys have a fight? Gal Lily said softly. Maybe they're unhappy that I didn't bring my keys and came back so late. After all, I did wake them up by coming back so late. Chapter 1668. Then the people in your dormitory are really annoying. They seem to be fine normally, but they actually locked you outside. Seeing that everyone was on her side, Gal Lily heaved a sigh of relief. This time, the girls in the dormitory wouldn't blame her for being noisy. They don't seem to want to open the door for me. The dormitory is locked, and the school gate is locked. What should I do? Gal Lily said, feeling wronged. The dormitory's auntie asked others to help lock the gate of the girls' dormitory today. She seems to have applied for leave and will only come back tomorrow. An informed girl said, in the end, it's your dormitory's fault. Actually, I understand them. After all, I came back really late. Next time, I definitely won't forget to bring my key. Gal Lily's current plan was to choose one of these dormitories and stay for the night. Now, she really suspected that the people inside were deliberately not opening the door. She suspected that they were working together to target her. Perhaps it was Hu Xiaolan's doing. After all, Hu Xiaolan seemed to be especially dissatisfied with her today. Tangwa's stupid look didn't seem like an organizer. Yes, it must be Hu Xiaolan who hated her and didn't open the door for her. Why don't you go to our dormitory and squeeze in with me? A kind-hearted girl walked up to Gal Lily. Although girls usually competed with each other, they couldn't bear to see such a thing happen. In such cold weather, Gal Lily would definitely get sick if she stayed outside the dormitory for a night in such thin clothes. My place is fine too. Which dormitory do you want to go to? It's fine to squeeze in for a night. As for the people in your dormitory, they will definitely open the door and come out tomorrow. We can ask them what's going on then. Gal Lily took a few steps forward and said gratefully, then I'll have to trouble you. I'm really sorry to wake you up in the middle of the night. At this moment, a sharp-eyed girl looked at the gap on the ground and asked curiously, what's that? With that, she even squatted down and pulled out the red string. Finally, a key that seemed to be shining lay in her palm. She hesitated for a moment and said, this is the key, right? The 6 or 7 girls all looked at Gal Lily's face. They were not blind. That was really the key. The girl with the key looked at Gal Lily and said, you might have misunderstood your roommates. They left the key for you. It's probably because you were too anxious and didn't notice. By the way, why don't you take a look at the messages? Maybe they sent you a message? Gal Lily was a little dumbfounded. After being miserable for so long, in the end, the people in the surrounding dormitory discovered that the key was under the crack of the door. She really didn't look at the chat accounts today, but she didn't think that the people in the dormitory would send her any messages. She hadn't thought of leaving the key behind. Although the current situation was a little awkward, she really couldn't bring herself to hate the person who left the key. Therefore, she was very conflicted. She took out her phone and opened her chat account. Sure enough, a message popped up. Gal Lily, I've been suffering from severe insomnia recently. I have to take medicine every night to sleep. Hu Xiaolan has been waiting outside the dormitory for a few hours today. She must have caught a cold, so she probably won't be able to open the door for you. Chapter 1669. So I put the key under the door. It's a red string. Pull it and it'll come out. The girls came closer to take a look and realized that the person who sent the message was Tangwa. They had heard of Tangwa before. She was a nice girl, but she didn't have much of a presence. Anyway, she wouldn't reject them if they asked her for help. She sounded like a nice person. Since you have the key, you should go back to sleep. Yeah, you misunderstood your roommate. Actually, your roommate is a nice person. She even thought about this. It's so late at night and she's sound asleep. She might not have heard it. This kind of thing is really not bad. Cherish it. The girls yawned and put the key in Gal Lily's hand. We're going back to sleep. Remember to bring the key next time. Don't make so much noise at night. They didn't sympathize with Gal Lily now. She was such a nice roommate, but she left the key for her. In the end, she didn't read the message and even complained to them that her roommate was targeting her. This girl must be crazy. No, she was a selfish person. Fortunately, they found the key at the last moment and didn't let her stay in their dormitory. The system was wondering why the host was so kind to leave a key under the door for Gal Lily. It turned out that the host knew that Gal Lily would violently knock on the door and attract the attention of the people in the dormitory next door. At that time, no matter what the reason was, the people in the dormitory didn't open the door for Gal Lily. Gal Lily would win a lot of sympathy. Anyway, the person in the wrong would be in the dormitory. But in the end, this mistake would most likely fall on the host's head. Because Hu Xiaolan could say that she had a cold. Who would blame someone who had a cold? Lung Ruofei had always been a cold person. She stayed in the dormitory for 2 or 3 days a week. Those who were slightly familiar with her knew that Lung Ruofei came from a powerful background. No one would be so stupid to blame Lung Ruofei. Then, the only one who could be blamed was Tanghua, because she came from an ordinary background and didn't catch a cold. In the eyes of many people, insomnia wasn't a big deal. Even if they took sleeping pills, they would still be able to be woken up. Some of them even blamed Tanghua. She knew that Gal Lily was not back yet, but she took the medicine and went to bed immediately. She did not even consider that her roommate was not back yet. Now that the host had placed the key, Gal Lily's vile character was fully exposed. The other girls in the dormitory also knew how much consideration she had for Gal Lily. Wow, she got all the good things. Even if Gal Lily felt uncomfortable, she couldn't say anything about her. This was because the host had already thought things through perfectly. Compared to personally opening the door for Gal Lily, this was even more impressive. However, in the dark, she had really set Gal Lily up. Gal Lily fell asleep as soon as she came back. She didn't wash anything and still had makeup on her face. Tanghua woke up at 6:00 the next morning. Coincidentally, Lung Ruofei also woke up early. So early? Lung Ruofei asked indifferently. She glanced at Gal Lily's sleeping posture and said, "You opened the door for her last night?" No. Lung Ruofei was surprised. Did Hu Xiaolan open the door? It didn't look like it. I left a key under the door for her. But there won't be a next time. Chapter 1670. Lung Ruofei nodded. That was indeed the case. If they kept too much of it, it would easily bring safety hazards to their dormitory. She opened the glass door of the sink first. A stench hit her in the face, causing her to frown. She glanced over. There was no need to guess. Those soaked trash must be Gal Lily's. How many days has she been soaking? About 3 days, Tanghua said. Lung Ruofei felt that something was wrong. This Tanghua seemed a little different from before. That bucket is yours. If she likes to use it, then let her use it. I don't use the bucket anymore. Lung Ruofei. Something is wrong. She sounded so easy to talk to, but there was something different about her. In the past, she swallowed her anger and didn't dare to speak. But today, it seemed like she was trying to kill her. It couldn't be, right? Lung Ruofei pursed her lips slightly. Would Tanghua try to kill someone by flattery? What a joke. This girl was really the silliest and most honest person she had ever seen since she was born. She was the kind of person who lamented her misfortune and was angry at her for not fighting. Seeing Tanghua wash up expressionlessly, change into sportswear, and go out, Lung Ruofei asked, "Running?" "Yes, my body has been very weak recently. I'm going to train well." Lung Ruofei didn't say anything else. As for what happened to Gal Lily, she didn't want to care. She didn't feel that she had an obligation to teach Gal Lily to be hygienic. Now, Gal Lily had already affected her. But according to her guess, Gal Lily would definitely wash those things when she saw her. Tangwa was in a good mood as she ran on the track with fresh air. Host, Lung Ruafe seems to have noticed that something is wrong with you. So what if she noticed? She has no conflict with me. But once Lung Ruafe came back, Gao Lily would probably wash those dirty things away. But if Lung Ruafe doesn't come back, it will still affect your lives. After a while, I'll rent a room outside and apply to the school. I'll come back occasionally to stay. Gao Lily can do whatever she wants. I'm not interested in reminding her that as a girl, she should care about hygiene. Look at what happened last night. If I hadn't left the key, she would have ruined the reputation of our entire dormitory. This person was selfish and only cared about herself. No matter how well you treated her, she would not be grateful and would even become worse. Once you treat her badly, she will definitely think that you owe her. Just support her for now. I'm going to live outside anyway. The system finally understood. So the host had already planned this all along. Host, you won't leave Gao Lily to Hu Xiaolan and let the two of them tear each other apart, right? That's right. Although Hu Xiaolan is a little bit better than Gao Lily, it's only a little bit. She still has a grudge against me. I didn't take the initiative to attack them. I just left a small space for the two of them. As for Lung Ruafe, there was no need to worry at all. If Lung Ruafe wanted to move out, she could do so at any time. Host, look who's running behind you. The system's surprised voice rang out, distracting Tang's attention. She turned her head slightly and saw Bai Li Cheng running towards her. Host, this is called being all-pervasive. Sister Tang, your living habits are quite good. Bai Li Cheng ran to Tang's side and stood side by side with her. Are you up so early to exercise? Chapter 1672. When Gao Lily woke up, she consciously washed those things, not because of Long Ruafei's instructions. In this dormitory, the person she was most afraid of was Long Ruafei, even if she was quite pretty and her family background was not bad. But in front of Long Ruafei, she was just a little brother. Long Ruafei exuded the aura of a rich family's daughter from inside out. Gao Lily was envious, afraid, and a little inferior. A look from the other party was enough to give her a blow. Naturally, in front of people like Long Ruafei, Gao Lily still preferred to be clean. Tangwa walked to the balcony. The bathroom was opposite the sink, and she was going to use it. Inadvertently, she saw that Gao Lily had actually soaked the socks in the bucket with her underwear and underwear to wash them. Host, this is the dirtiest girl I've ever seen. Yes, she's also the most careless one I've ever seen. It was common sense to wash socks and underwear separately. She didn't know what kind of environment Gao Lily grew up in to be so careless. Gao Lily, did you add disinfectant? Tangwa asked casually. Gao Lily was stunned for a moment. Why would I add that? I can wash them clean with soap powder. I'm not afraid. If there are any bacteria, it will affect your health if you wear it. It's okay. I've always washed it like this. There aren't so many problems. Gao Lily said, our family is like this. We throw all our clothes into the washing machine and nothing happens. Tangwa thought that it was lucky that nothing happened. If something really happened, it would be too late. It could also be that they used a high-temperature antivirus washing machine. It could also be that Gao Lily didn't notice that her mother actually added disinfectant. She didn't mean anything else. She was just verbally concerned. Anyway, she didn't lose a piece of meat. Host, you're so hypocritical. How am I hypocritical? Fine. I'm hypocritical. What do you want? Also, has my hypocrisy affected anyone around me? Host, that's not what I mean. I mean that it's necessary to be a hypocritical person occasionally. Really, I'm not lying at all. The system was afraid of provoking Tangwa, so it quickly explained. Actually, it wasn't called hypocrisy. It should be called emotional intelligence. Tangwa's words just now showed that she was concerned about Gao Lily. That was why she asked if Gao Lily had added disinfectant. In fact, she was already tactfully reminding him that washing in such a way was not good for his underwear and would affect his health. A person with low EQ would probably say, Gao Lily, your clothes have been soaked in water for a few days. It's so dirty. If you don't add disinfectant, you'll definitely get sick. Also, you actually washed your underwear and socks together. It would be strange if you didn't get sick. Although these words were a reminder to Gal Lily, anyone who heard it would feel uncomfortable. They would even think that it was disdain. Moreover, the host had kindly reminded Gal Lily. As for whether Gal Lily would listen to it or not, that was up to Gal Lily. After all, they were just roommates, not her mother. I don't have any other intentions. I just wanted to remind her. Tangwa said slowly, if she really doesn't change, when something happens one day, she will probably be in pain when she recalls what happened today. System. Oh. When Tangwa came out of the bathroom, Gal Lily was already washing her socks for the last time. Looking at the socks that weren't really clean and the water that was still a little muddy, Tangwa didn't say anything. Chapter 1673. There were no classes in the morning. When it was about 11 o'clock, Tangwa carried her books and prepared to go for lunch before going to the library. She had also brought her books for the afternoon class, so she didn't have to go back to the dormitory. After all, the distance between the 3 points was still a little far. It would be better if she didn't have to make as many trips as possible. She had already made an appointment with Han Yunya to go to the library to read books. Lung Ruofei had already gone to class. At this moment, Gao Lily lay down again and was playing with her phone. Hu Xiaolin woke up slowly and looked at Tangwa walking out with her books. Tangwa, it's only 11 o'clock. Where are you going? I have an appointment with a friend. We're going to the cafeteria for lunch. After lunch, we'll go to the library. I have classes in the afternoon, so I brought all my books. I'm too lazy to go, so I won't come back. Hu Xiaolin rubbed her forehead and said, Okay. If you're hungry later, you can order takeout or use our school's errand app. At this time, there should be students who are willing to buy food for you. Don't go down to eat when you're sick. System. Dear host, you're so thoughtful. Hu Xiaolin, you're already an adult. Remember to take good care of yourself. Don't go hungry. A clean smile appeared on Tangwa's face. Everyone felt that this smile was warm, and the words that came out of her mouth were filled with concern. System. What the host wants to say is, Hu Xiaolin, you're already an adult. Even if you're sick, you have to learn to take care of yourself. Nowadays, all kinds of apps are very convenient. No one has the obligation to help you do anything. Adults have to be more independent and take care of themselves. Don't always think of taking advantage of others. Based on what happened last night, Hu Xiaolin actually didn't feel that there was anything wrong with what Tangwa said after she called for a night delivery service. Their school had indeed developed an errand app. The people who registered could only be from their school. The employee number was the school's student number. It was really much safer than the errand services of other apps. Basically, it was to help buy food, collect packages, deliver water, deliver clothes, and other services. If one didn't bring toilet paper, they could also order an errand service. Everything could be done with a few dollars. People like Hu Xiaolin and Gao Lily were used to taking advantage of others and always wanted to take advantage of others. It was such a waste for the school to develop such a useful app. Tangwa and Han Yunya met downstairs in the dormitory. She was wearing new clothes that she had bought yesterday. Whether it was the color or the style, it suited her better. Han Yunya's eyes lit up when she saw it. It looks much better now. I think so too, Tangwa said immodestly. Chapter 1674. Gao Lily had a better relationship with her, so there shouldn't be any problems. She didn't need to call for an errand service. Unexpectedly, Gao Lily said, I'm going out after eating. I won't be coming back. Why don't you call for an errand service to buy food for you? It'll be faster. Gao Lily thought of what Tangwa had said and quickly used this excuse. If that was the case, different people with different relationships would have different meanings when they said it. Tangwa's words carried a hint of concern. Hu Xiaolin enjoyed it very much, because Tangwa really wasn't coming back. And from Gao Lily's voice just now, she could clearly feel that she just didn't want to bring food for her. Why didn't I hear you say that you were going out? Didn't you not ask? I couldn't have told you that I was going out, right? I only heard Tangwa telling you not to forget to call for an errand service. That's why I planned to eat and go out. Now that I've told my boyfriend, I can't go back on my words. And the errand service is really much faster. You can eat earlier too. Gao Lily's excuse was incoherent. What did Gao Lily promise her boyfriend that time? It wasn't a video call in the dormitory. In the end, Hu Xiaolin didn't say anything else. Gao Lily seemed to heave a sigh of relief and turned to leave with her bag. Hu Xiaolin lay in the dormitory and fell into deep thought. It seemed that her relationship with Gao Lily wasn't as good as she thought. She didn't know if she was sick or if the other party had forgotten the key. Seeing that she had woken up, Gao Lily didn't seem to be apologetic at all, as if she didn't know that she was sick. She suddenly felt that Gao Lily was really a selfish person who didn't care about her at all. Last night, Tangwa came back and saw that she was unbelievably cold. She turned around and poured her a cup of hot water and reminded her to buy medicine. Today, she was going out to work, but she didn't forget to remind her to eat. To be fair, she had never been close to Tangwa. Most of the time, she talked to her to ask for help. In her heart, she even mocked her for being a fool, an idiot. She was immensely pleased with herself for being able to take advantage of him every single time. It was as if they were watching a show, watching Gao Lily occupy Tangwa's buckets, basins, and so on. Every time there was a conflict between Gao Lily and Tangwa, she would always side with Gao Lily, because she thought that no matter how good Tangwa was, so what? First place, average results. Secondly, he was too honest and didn't know how to socialize. He had few friends. Thirdly, her family background was probably the worst in their dormitory. In conclusion, she felt that there was nothing about Tangwa that made her want to make friends with her. Lung Ruofei was out of her league. As for Gao Lily, her family background should be similar to hers. She was eloquent, good-looking, and had many friends. Only she knew the fickleness of human nature. Today, she had truly experienced it. The person she had tried so hard to befriend was actually so cold to her when she was in trouble, and the people she looked down on still cared about her. In the end, Hu Xiaolin called for an errand boy to help her get the food. Looking at the food in the bowl, she fell into deep thought again. She remembered that Tangwa used to bring her food and a bowl of soup on the way. It was rare to see such a meticulous person in the university. Perhaps she shouldn't have looked at people with prejudice. Chapter 1675. After the meal, Hu Xiaolin asked for leave again. She really didn't want to go to the afternoon classes. Gao Lily's attitude towards her today made her change a lot about some things. She wondered if she should take Gao Lily and Tangwa seriously. Tangwa didn't know any of this. She and Han Yunya read for a while in the library. There was only one class in the afternoon. After class, she called out to Han Yunya. Yunya, help me take the books back. I'll come and get them later. I have to go out for something. Okay, give me a call when you come back. If I'm not around, you don't have to knock on the door. Go back to the dormitory first. I'll bring them up to you later. Thank you. You're welcome. Han Yunya held their books and said goodbye at a fork in the road. Tangwa went out to find a place to live, of course. As for the application for the counselor to live outside, there should be no problem. She couldn't bear to live in that dirty dormitory for 3 or 4 years. But she didn't want to use the reason that she couldn't get along with her roommates and had to apply to live outside the school. This would make her seem very unsociable. She didn't intend to be the best and most outstanding person in this world. She just wanted to be a little outstanding and outstanding. Since she wanted to be an ordinary person, there would always be all kinds of people around her. She couldn't escape from them just because she didn't like them. She couldn't handle this kind of relationship by not meeting them. They were all humans. Where could she escape to? Even if she wanted to live in a quiet place, she couldn't use that kind of reason to make herself very special. If she wasn't a powerful and outstanding person, there was no need to stand alone at the top and enjoy the cold wind. It would only make it difficult for her to move forward. No ordinary person would want to make friends with such people. Sister Tang, what a coincidence. It is a little coincidental. Tangwa looked at the man standing at the school gate and suddenly came back to her senses. How can it be so coincidental, Brother Bailey? We meet so coincidentally every day. I thought you were monitoring my every move. Not at all. I'm not that kind of person, Bai Li Chung hurriedly explained, afraid that she would misunderstand. The neighborhood he lived in was not far from the school. The building was a little high, and he could see part of the school. The gate was clearly visible. Ever since he met Tanghua, he liked to sit in front of the floor-to-ceiling window and look at that spot. He didn't know why, but every time he saw her, he wanted to get close to her. Vaguely, he had some guesses. However, he still needed to verify whether it was what he thought it was. Why are you out so early? Is something the matter? I want to find a place to stay. I plan to move out. Tanghua smiled and said, it's much more convenient to do things when I live outside. Also, I plan to do something else when I have nothing to do. What do you plan to do? Door-to-door manicure. Bai Li Chung was surprised. You know how to do nails? Of course. System. The host knows a lot of things. A mere manicure was nothing. It seemed that his great host really intended to live an ordinary life. But why did he feel that it wasn't that ordinary? Let's wait and see if his guess was right. Chapter 1676. Not just a manicure, but also some makeup. One step at a time. That social media account is only used to promote products. I think it's too wasteful. Bai Li Chung felt that this little girl's way of thinking was really special. Then I'll accompany you. You're just a little girl, so it's easy for you to be cheated. Bai Li Chung said very sincerely, there are a lot of cheats nowadays. You're so young and so pretty. I'm a little worried. Then I'll have to trouble you. Tanghua did not refuse. System. He knew. After all, he had to give this guy a chance to perform. If the host was not interested, she would directly reject him. While accompanying Tanghua to find a place, Bai Li Cheng's mind was spinning. In the end, he felt a little regretful. In this place, it seemed that he only had the apartment he lived in. Although he really wanted to rent this apartment to her, he was still a man. However, he was a man and she was still a young lady. If she took the initiative to speak, it would inevitably cause some misunderstanding. What kind of apartment do you want to rent? 2 bedrooms and a living room. After getting this answer, Bai Li Chung sighed in relief, but also felt a little disappointed. It seemed that she would not rent the apartment he lived in. At the same time, he was relieved. Renting an apartment was indeed much safer. Do you have money? Yes. Host, he suspects that you're very poor. I'm quite poor now, but I still have money for rent. In fact, she did not do much. She just used the remaining money in the original host's hands to get some cash. She promised that except for this period of time, she would not use that kind of opportunistic method to earn money in the future. After all, she wanted to be an ordinary person. System. Ha ha ha. Because of Bai Li Cheng's hidden selfishness, he helped Tanghua find a place to live near his neighborhood. Without much effort, he finally found a very suitable apartment. What made him most satisfied was that it was just opposite his neighborhood. It was very close. In the future, they would be able to see each other every day. Along the way, he somewhat understood why he always wanted to see her. If he wasn't mistaken, he had developed feelings for this little girl. Bai Li Chung was a little conflicted. After all, he had told everyone in his family that he would be single for the rest of his life. But when he saw the little girl walking beside him, he threw the thought of being single for the rest of his life to the back of his mind. How could he obstruct his future true love because of an immature decision when he was young? The contract could still be changed, so why couldn't he change it? Therefore, when the rental of the house was completed, Tanghua felt that Bai Li Cheng's eyes were different when he looked at her. Big brother Bailey, let me treat you to a meal. The weather is so hot, and you've been running with me for so long. Sure. Only a fool would refuse. This little girl might become his wife in the future. What do you like to eat? I like to eat everything. As long as she brought him there, it was delicious. After the two of them had a pleasant dinner, Tanghua bought some cleaning utensils. Bai Li Chung took them upstairs. Bai Li Chung's reason was that he was a man and it was polite for him to help a lady carry her things. Besides, she had treated him to a meal. It was only right for him to do such a small thing. Tangwa naturally wouldn't refuse. Everything that followed seemed to be natural. Tangwa wiped the table, the wardrobe, and a series of other light tasks. Bai Li Cheng was actually holding a mop and mopping the floor. He was so tired that his forehead was sweating. Chapter 1677. Big Brother Bailey, I can do it myself, Tangwa said. Bai Li Cheng raised his head slightly. It's okay. This mop is a little heavy. I can mop it faster if I'm stronger. Then drink a glass of water first. It's only a little warm. It's not cold or hot. You should feel better after drinking it. It's cool now, Bai Li Cheng said after drinking the water. She didn't know if he was telling the truth. System. These two, they're developing really quickly. Big Brother Bailey, you're a big boss after all. I feel a little bad for letting you do the work. System. Host, can you touch your conscience and say this again? Actually, I used to do this a lot in the past. When I was in school, who didn't mop the floor, sweep the floor, and clean the windows? In the dormitory, when it comes to cleaning, the whole dormitory has to work together. No one can sit there and not do anything. My auntie also comes 3 times a week. The rest of the time, if the floor is dirty, I have to do it myself. Big Brother Bailey, you're really a big boss. In fact, Bai Li Cheng really hadn't done this for a long time. Would he be able to dirty the place he lived in by himself? Of course not. The auntie came 3 times a week. The room was very clean. After the cleaning, Tangwa had to go back to school. Naturally, it was Bai Li Cheng who sent her to the door. He even said, "You can look for me when you're moving. There's nothing in the dormitory that needs to be moved. After all, I have to stay in the dormitory during the day. If it's heavy, call me." Bai Li Cheng continued. Okay. Bai Li Cheng stood at the door of the school and watched Tangwa slowly walk in. He only turned around with a smile when her figure disappeared. After an entire day, Hu Xiaolan had already thought it through. She wanted to get along well with Tangwa in the future. After all, there weren't many people who were so nice. Unexpectedly, before she could even open her mouth, Tangwa had already made an announcement. She said that she had applied to the school to live outside. Everyone in the dormitory asked why. Tangwa said that she wanted to take advantage of the relaxed classes to do some things. It was better than dawdling around every day. She had to put a lot of things in the dormitory, and it would be inconvenient for everyone. Tangwa told Fengyu that she was helping to promote some small brands. She also planned to do some part-time jobs. Gao Lily was not interested at all. Her family was not poor, so she did not need to work as hard as Tangwa. Wasn't university students' time supposed to be used for fun? She didn't want to be so nervous. It's not as easy as you think. Out of selfishness, she did not want Tangwa to leave the dormitory. Since you figured out what to do, then do it well. Lung Ruofei was lying down. When she heard Tangwa's words, she said some words of encouragement. People who do things seriously will not have bad results. Chapter 1678. Han Yunya looked at the delicate and beautiful nails on her 10 fingers and exclaimed, "I didn't expect you to be so good at manicuring. You are so beautiful. Tangwa, you will definitely be popular. If you are so good at manicuring, why don't you dress yourself up?" Han Yunya asked. Tangwa said, "My parents are more conservative. They don't like me to dress gorgeously. They even ask me to wash off my makeup. If I were to do a manicure, I don't know if they would cut off my hands directly." Tangwa was not exaggerating. The original owner's parents, especially her mother, were such people. Although they paid her tuition fees and gave her a small living allowance, they did not care about her other things. However, once they found out that she was dressed gorgeously, they would think that she was not good at studying. The clothes she wore were all normal. In the eyes of young girls, they were naturally very old-fashioned. However, these clothes were not bad. They were just a little out of fashion. Every time, they would teach Tangwa that she was not allowed to date in college, she was not allowed to dress up flirtatiously, and she had to work part-time. When she graduated from college, she would go back to the county to work. They were afraid that Tangwa would dress up too beautifully and run away with someone else. At that time, they would not be able to control her. After all, they did not really support Tangwa to go to college to make a name for herself. They supported Tangwa to go to college, not because they thought that girls had to go to college. They thought that men with slightly better family backgrounds nowadays still valued education more when choosing women. That was right. Her parents supported the original owner of the body to go to college so that she could be presentable in the future. In their place, the betrothal gifts were also more expensive. Tangwa's parents' salary was not low. However, they planned to buy a house for her brother, Tang Xiaoquan, in a big city in the future. If Tang Xiaoquan lived up to their expectations, they also planned to send him abroad to study. Apart from the necessary expenses, all the money left was for Tang Xiaoquan. Are there still such parents nowadays? Han Yunya felt a little incredulous. Which parents who loved their children did not want their daughter to dress up beautifully? If she had not known Tangwa for so long and vaguely knew that she came from a county and lived in the city, she would have thought that she was a child. She was afraid that she would think that Tangwa lived in some remote corner of the city. All right, let's not talk about this anymore. Come, I'll take some beautiful photos of you. The moment Tangwa took out the camera, Han Yunya was slightly stunned. This camera isn't cheap. It must be at least tens of thousands. What happened to her parents not caring much about her and making her a little poor? It's all the money I saved up in the past. Since I'm planning to start a business, I definitely have to buy better equipment. Then you are really amazing. Han Yunya stretched out a pair of slender hands that had already been manicured. She tried her best to pose in the best way possible according to her own aesthetic standards. On the other hand, Tangwa was patting him. Han Yunya's hands were fair and slender, as if she was peeling scallions. Her skin was fair and rosy, which was very beautiful. Now that she had a manicure, it would only make people feel that it was the icing on the cake. Because there were dozens of different sets of nail photos to be taken, Han Yunya's nails were covered with transparent nail polish. It was easy to remove and wouldn't hurt her nails easily. She definitely couldn't finish all the photos in one day. They had to be taken over several days. In about a week, Tangwa took about 20 sets of exquisite manicures for Han Yunya. Not only were there photos, but there were also short videos. Chapter 1679. She put these pictures in her post and instantly attracted a lot of attention. Many people were asking where she got such beautiful manicures done. Then Tangwa posted another post regarding the manicure photos in the previous post. All the nails were done by me. You will definitely ask if I have a manicure shop and where it is. I'm sorry to tell you that I don't have a manicure shop. Maybe I will have one in the future. But you don't have to be sorry. I accept reservations here. As long as you are in the city, you can come to my place. As for the price, I will post it in pictures later. Han Yunya had been sitting next to her, playing with her nails. She couldn't help but praise them. They were really beautiful. In the past few days, she had to change 2 or 3 kinds of beautiful nails a day. Every day, she would be asked where she got them done. The girl was beautiful and a little vain. Naturally, she was very happy. If Tangwa hadn't reminded her not to publicize it, she really wanted to pull in a lot of business for her. When she saw Tangwa post the price list, she finally understood why she didn't want her to pull customers. Tangwa, you are robbing. Han Yunya rubbed her eyes, afraid that she had seen the price wrong. But the number still didn't change. It was clearly written on it. Manicure, starting from 100 yuan. If she didn't understand it wrong, it was a manicure, and the price was 100 yuan. Will anyone really do it like this? Even Han Yunya, who came from a rich family, knew that 100 yuan was super expensive. The cheapest manicure for 10 manicures would cost thousands of yuan. This was simply robbery. Tangwa didn't care about Han Yunya's surprise at all. She directly put the price list up. Then she said, "Do you think my manicures look good?" Yes. Han Yunya had to admit that they were really very beautiful. She also liked manicures. It was the first time she had seen such beautiful manicures. Every set was very beautiful. Will a lot of people like them? Han Yunya glanced at Tangwa's post. In just a short while, it had been forwarded thousands of times. There were countless comments below as well. Everyone was concerned about how to get such beautiful nails. Of course, any girl will like it. If it's too cheap, Will I be able to handle it? Tangwa said matter-of-factly, moreover, my account only promotes high-end products. Naturally, I only provide high-end services when it comes to doing nails. It's at least 100 yuan for a fingernail. In the eyes of those rich ladies, it's nothing. Do you believe that in the future, if I set a price of 500 yuan each, or even 1,000 yuan each, those rich ladies will like my nails even more? Han Yunya was silent for a moment. She looked at Tangwa strangely again. So this was your plan from the beginning. If that was the case, it would really work. Because for those rich young ladies, spending a few thousand yuan for beauty was really a piece of cake. Especially this kind of high-end service that ordinary people would find too expensive, but was beautiful, they would like it even more. Then I'll help you promote it. Although our family isn't considered a top-notch wealthy family, we can barely enter that circle. I'll take 2 pictures and send them to my family. It should be able to bring you some business. Chapter 1680. Han Yunya held her phone and sent the photos taken by Tangwa to her family group. Those in her family who loved beautiful things would naturally ask her where she got them done. When the time came, all the women in her family would come to make an appointment to get their nails done. They would definitely help promote Tangwa again. Host, didn't you say you were just going to be an ordinary person? Aren't I being an ordinary person? 100 yuan for a nail was also a price that ordinary manicurists wouldn't dare to charge. Tongzi, that's because you're inexperienced. System. No, he didn't think he was inexperienced. It was just that his definition of an ordinary person was different from the host's definition of an ordinary person. Host, your cutie is here. You'll hear a knock on the door soon. The system reminded her secretly. He's still carrying a lunchbox. I guess he must have seen your status and knows that you haven't eaten. He's afraid you'll be hungry. Before the system finished speaking, there was a knock on the door. Tangwa opened the door and saw Bailey Chung carrying a lunchbox. She heard him say, I accidentally saw your status before. You must have been busy all morning and haven't eaten, right? Yes, I still have time. I was planning to go after finishing my work. Coincidentally, I haven't eaten either. I thought it would be more lively to eat together, so I brought it up for you. He knew that Han Yunya had become Tangwa's model. Naturally, the lunchbox he bought was enough for 3 people. Han Yunya had just posted the photos in her family group and also sent the link to her account. The rest was up to the women in her family to discuss among themselves. Seeing Bailey Chung carrying a lunchbox, his expression was a bit ambiguous. She wasn't a fool. How could she not know that Bailey Chung was interested in Tangwa? Is there still a share for me? She walked over and asked. Seeing the open lunchbox, she said, It looks quite delicious. This shouldn't be a meal from an ordinary small restaurant. After knowing him for a few days, she also knew why the supermarket suddenly had a discount. It was a strange 3-hour discount. This man was quite good at wooing girls. You're good, Bailey Chung said. Then I'll bring it back to the dormitory to eat. After eating, I want to take a nap. I won't disturb you too. She couldn't stand being a third wheel for tens of millions of people if she stayed here. Bailey Chung was naturally very happy and felt that Han Yunya was much more pleasing to the eye. Only Tangwa and Bailey Chung were left in the house. Your idea is good. I helped you with the post. I think you'll be very busy soon. Bailey Chung took the initiative to bring up the topic. After all, he had another reason for bringing food over. I didn't expect you to think like that. Bailey Cheng's face was full of praise. It seems like we've lost a large number of customers, but in reality, there are still many benefits to keeping only high-end customers. You are still a student. No matter how much time you have, you still have to attend classes. You can't be busy with this every day. However, even so, it's still very busy, especially for customers who live in various places in the city. It's very tiring to run up and down. Tangwa replied, I'm prepared for that. Then how are you going to get there? Bailey Chung asked casually, Are you going to take a taxi or take the bus? By subway? Without waiting for Tangwa to speak, he continued, You're a beautiful girl and a student. It's not safe for you to take a taxi. Who knows if the driver is a human or a ghost and what he's thinking? Especially if you come back late, you'll be easily targeted. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.